Renfield released and I got to see it opening day. My girlfriend was very excited to see it. Me? Not so much. I was anxious for it because the trailers didn't really speak to me on any level. It seemed like the run-of-the-mill studio action comedy using modern day buzzwords like toxic relationship with corny jokes and shallow emotional moments, and being honest, it kind of is that. But it also kind of isn't. The only thing that made me want to even see this film at all was Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, which is a draw for a lot of people, if not the main draw of this whole movie. But also Nicholas Hoult is pretty cool and I enjoyed him very recently in The Menu, so upon watching the film I realised that the one thing I was there for, Cage, was the only thing that saved this at all really. Going into it, you may assume you just get a few scenes of him dracking out, but you actually get quite a lot of time dedicated towards him, nearly half the runtime. And the handling of him is so far superior to everything else you see in the film, it's ridiculous. Like for instance, there's a short backstory segment in the beginning that explains how Renfield and Dracula came to meet, and it's told by making use of the old aesthetics of cinema. There's plenty of great practical effects, but the makeup and costume they put on to Dracula himself is beyond what this film deserves. Nick Cage is of course giving his best and brings some real life into every scene he's in, and every scene he's in is framed like a fucking horror movie. The problem with this is that the film isn't about Dracula. Now I know they wanted to subvert the story and make a movie about the untold story of a lesser known character from the universe, but this is a case of this subversion just not being anywhere near as good as what we would like to get instead. Hoult is absolutely fine as Renfield, but that's about it. He feels massively wasted. He's an actor that can be especially exceptional in a particularly special cast like the previously mentioned The Menu, but the material he has to work with here is so incredibly surface level. This is made more egregious because this is a character that could actually have some real turmoil, that could have some actual depth. Now, I'm not saying this film needs to be the last temptation of Christ, but I am saying that this film can be both fun and silly whilst having some meat on the bones. I mean, it dabbles in multiple genres anyway with the horror element, so why not try for some sincere drama? Well, actually to be fair, they do attempt some sincere drama, but not with Renfield. They make the bizarre choice to give the love interest the emotional roller coaster, but even then, it's not well done in the slightest. It's super ham-fisted in there and so cliched that I seriously got deja vu sitting in the cinema. This whole character is off, being honest. Awkwafina is at her most inoffensive here. She doesn't grate me, she doesn't make me laugh, she's just kind of there, filling a space that could be dedicated to a genuinely great arc for Renfield, of which he has basically none. I mean, he kind of has no real character change the entire movie, which is a bit odd. You could say that these shackles of Dracula are released so he can be free and happy, but that isn't really an arc, that's just what happens. But this is sort of the problem with making Renfield your hero. He's kind of not redeemable. He can be as repentful as possible, he could change for the better, but in no way is he a forgivable character. He slaughtered thousands of innocent people over decades, and they tried to slightly cover it up by saying some of them were bad people, so that's a good thing, as if that makes it any more excusable. It's a shame that this film kind of stinks in these departments because it shines sometimes. Like Ben Schwartz's Teddy Lobo is genuinely funny and serves as great comedic relief for the film, and he's doing his absolute best to recover some of the awful lines in this film. So though he does get handed some shitty material sometimes, he does regardless give it his all, which is appreciated. The best this film ever is the Dracula scenes, and in the action scenes which take like a Kill Bill approach oftentimes, having body parts fly and gush with blood an ungodly amount, which is undeniably pretty fucking fun. There's a moment where Renfield punches a guy's head clean off and it's genuinely sick. The special effects on the blood gushing is a bit rough, as is some of the other CGI, but the practical effects make up for it, and in some way the shittiness of it kinda makes it more fun. But this film is at its worst when it's attempting to be a romance film which is underdone, clunky, and unnecessary. The chemistry is fine, but Rebecca, whose name I just had to look up, is a waste of screen time. The dialogue that builds this relationship is horrifically played out, and there isn't a moment where I believe them as a couple. It's a completely run-of-the-mill action comedy with wasted potential, but fortunately has some Nick Cage infused in its veins whilst having the occasional great action sequence. So for that, I'm going to give Renfield a 5.5 out of 10. So, have you seen Renfield? If you have, let me know what you think of this review. Let me know what you think of this video overall. I read every single comment and reply to as many as possible. And whether it's this bland, run-of-the-mill, but kind of saved by Nick Cage action studio comedy, as always, keep watching movies.